Time to get started. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Maysville. We're glad you're here, and we have a special evening where we're going to have a presentation on our mission trip to Honduras. So you're in for a special treat if you're visiting with us. Get to hear about that work, and also our members. I'm glad you're here. We're glad you help support this work, and I know a lot of good will come from it. Tonight we'll be led in opening prayer by Stan Kilpatrick. Our closing prayer will be led by Victor Taylor. Our opening song will be number 943. And Brady White will have our scripture reading in just a moment. We'll have that. I'm going to shorten the announcements a little bit tonight. We do have a lot of information to take in this evening. So if you didn't get a bulletin this morning, take a look at it. I'm not going to read anything out of there tonight, but update, Holly Lewis, she's given me this note saying that she needs the college students to please turn in their information sheets by next Sunday, August the 13th. So if you haven't done that already and you're a college student, please do that. Also remember, Ladies Night Out will be Monday, August 14th at Angie Smallwood's home at 6 o'clock. And the menu's baked potato bar, and potatoes and meat provided, but the fixings and dessert need to be brought. There's a homecoming coming up at the Plainview Church of Christ with Willie Franklin. This starts next Sunday. So I will post this on the board out by the Secretary's office. And also there's a gospel meeting at Huntsville Park beginning August 18th. And I will also post this out by the Secretary's office. Scripture, Brady.
I'll be reading from Psalms 96, verses 1 through 3. Psalms 96, 1 through 3. Oh, sing to the Lord a new song. Sing to the Lord, all the earth. Sing to the Lord and bless his name. Tell of his salvation from day to day. Declare his glory among the nations and his marvelous works among all the people.
Let's pray. Father, we're thankful for the opportunity we have to gather here this afternoon to be able to sing songs of praise to your name. In just a few moments, we'll be able to present before the congregation the efforts we had in Honduras, of the love that they sent there with their contributions and their prayers as we went there and tried to do your work in the missions there. Be with us as we go through this service and on through future walks of life. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Dressed a little different tonight, as you can tell, but part of the Honduras team. We'll get to that in a minute. 943, this one verse song.
I love you, Lord, and I lift my voice to worship you. Oh, my soul, rejoice. Take joy, my King, in what you give. May it be a sweet, sweet sound in your ear.
870. Do all four stanzas of this.
I'm happy today, oh yes, I'm happy today, in Jesus Christ. I'm happy today, 'cause he's taken all my sins away, and that's why I'm happy today. I'm singing today, oh yes, I'm singing today, in Jesus Christ. I'm singing today because
puppet classes tonight for our kids, and they're in here, so that's one reason I used some of these songs. May be familiar to them as well. 810 we'll sing now. 810. We'll do the first, third, and the fourth stanzas.
Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. Little ones to Him belong. They are weak, but He is strong. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. The Bible tells me so. Jesus loves the children dear, children far away or near. They are safe within His care, every day and everywhere. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. The Bible tells me so. Jesus, take this heart of mine, make it pure and wholly thine. Thou hast bled and died for me. I will henceforth live for Thee. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. The Bible tells me so.
Mark 337, and that's going to be a song to encourage after the presentation. 337. Okay.
First of all, I want to thank everybody coming out tonight. We're going to give our report this year on the Honduras mission. We had a lot of people involved in doing a lot of different things. This year was the 8th year that we made it down to the trip for Honduras. A lot of people donated clothes during the year, shoes, medicine, money to help build houses for the family. Even though you didn't physically go down there, you're still part of the trip by what the efforts you gave through the year. All the part of this mission work and hope is given to the people down there, the congregation of Moaloa, who we primarily support as we go down to Honduras. Are very much strengthened by the efforts and prayers and generosity that you show for them down there in Honduras. This year we had 32 people on our Alabama team that went, and we joined up with a group from South Carolina, Palmetto congregation. In total we had 96 people on our trip. While we was down there, these 96 people, we built 18 houses. There were 6 medical clinics, and we had over 1,200 bags of food that was distributed to people all around Tegucigalpa. Made several visits to the hospital, and also went to the Didasco orphanage that we support here at Maysville. We prepared food for people to work in the city dump. They're taking it while they're going through the dump, the garbage for their recycling efforts to make money. Also, we help ladies in the feeding center prepare to serve lunch at approximately 180 children each particular day that they're doing this. We had clothing and shoe giveaways at 2 different villages there, and had a ladies' day at church at Moaloa, vacation Bible school at children in Moaloa, and overall this was a very productive and a very eventful trip, as we later will find out. Before we go on, there's several people's going to be commenting on slideshow. We'll be sitting down, so some of this we're seeing for the first time, and we've got comments that we'll be making. But first of all, thank you for individually praying for us, and special prayers for the church on the Sunday when we were, stranded down in an airport. We know now that God does answer prayers, and we do appreciate your support and your efforts. Like I said, we're all going to be sitting down and watching, so we're going to get started on our slideshow. On the very first day, of course, we always meet up here at Maysville. This year we met at 2:45, and there, with the thanks of Tammy, Jason, Kendra, several of the people there encouraging us as we were leaving, we all packed up and went out to the airport. It's not about being a servant, it's all about doing the things for other people. Had a lot of sleepy folks going down through there. Here, Bruce is trying to pick up a little extra money doing some pole dancing on the train in Atlanta. Here, the plane ride from Atlanta to Tegucigalpa, as we can tell, as we later found out, the plane ride in there is also scary, but later we found out that the takeoff coming back home is just as eventful. Here, a lot of people sleeping from the early arise, and here as we get down to Tegucigalpa, this is a yearly thing where a lot of the people, and this is primarily the community of Moaloa, that is greeting our group, because this is a special group for us. There's a lot of people that got a lot of separate ties, and means a lot for our church members to see these people. Here's Pam and Joel, Patty and Brittany. This is Martha was filming some. This Heidi in her first house build of 2010, they went down. She's growing up. She was a young child, and now she's starting to grow up. Here's Paula and Janie. And here we are from the airport going to the buses where we take our luggage and where we really get to spend a little bit more time with them. Here, Judy and Heidi. Her and Bruce was on this house build also. This is Patty and myself and our three main guys that we have come attached to down in Moaloa. Of course, Jefferson, Walter, and Davey. Here's Pam and Nancy, and little baby Lizzie, one of the newborns that's coming up. These are the main guys that two guys on the end are bus drivers that really take care of us. Some people say they're pretty dangerous, but I think they're pretty good drivers as they can go through and up down the mountains taking care of us as we go out each particular day. Here's our yearly photo with Mother Patty surrounded by all of her children. And our pizza party, there you can see Noel helping us direct the children, getting ready for the pizza that's going to be given to them. Victor got to play a lot with the kids. Even down there, he's always attached and doing things for the little ones. Here's little Brittany. And this is some of the wiring problems that they have down in Tegucigalpa for telephone and electrical wires. It's quite amazing. This is a normal everyday sight you see going down the road. Every store usually has an armed guard that's protecting the merchandise and the people that's within the store. This is a view from the bus as we're going up the mountain to our mission house. You can see the city houses spread out all over and you can see the surrounding mountains as we'll learn about. And each night after we go out and we work, we come back and always have a Devo where we sing. There's a message of God's Word brought out, and then we talk about and reflect about what we did during the particular day and our plans for the next day. Okay, this year, me and Patty were really blessed. Of course, most of y'all know that I have a young man that's playing Major League Baseball, and him and his wife were able to donate some money to us this year in order to help the mission efforts down in Moaloa. This is one of the 7 things that was taking place this year. This particular special recognition, this is Javier and his family. There's 7 children and the mother, Carmen. They lost their house last year and have been paying rent in a small house. Now, because of the effort of Craig and Ashley, they were able to now own their own home and not have to worry about someone taking away their home from them. This is Sonia and her family. We built a house in 2014. The land has eroded around and was shifting, and there we're able to use some money in order to build a retaining wall to hold the house together so it won't slide off the side of the mountain. This is a very special young man, not only to me and Patty, but also this congregation. This is Enrique. He's a strong member in the church. He is a senior in high school, and he is wanting to go into medical school. And as we told him here on this particular day, we asked him what his plans were for the next year, and he says, I've been praying to God that hopefully I will be able to go to college. And I told him about Craig and Ashley giving the money, and we told him that his efforts will be there. He will be going to college, and it was really a joyful message and moment for us to be able to tell him that he will be able to go to college and go on and become a very successful person, which he's always he is right now. This is Cynthia, one of the members of the church. She wanted to be a doctor. This is Freddie's sister. Her mother has cancer, is coming back, and she's wanting to go into college and go into the field of medicine, but she's not able to go in and be as a doctor, but she passed her nursing, so she also will be going to college in order to gain nursing experience. Here's little Brittany, everybody's favorite. She's a doll, but she was selected to go to one of the bilingual schools down there. They couldn't afford it, and we chose to help her out where she could learn, of course, Spanish and English. This is Dr. Aguilera. He's one of the doctors. He's based out of North Carolina, but visits Tegucigalpa several times a year. He holds medical clinics, and each particular year he's raising money through the efforts of Craig and Ashley. Now we're going to be able to help sponsor 3, maybe 4 medical clinics that's going to be taking place in Moaloa. And this is little Davey. His mother is a member of the church there at Moaloa. They lost his birth certificate and have one, and he was in danger of being sent back to another country, and they applied to get him to the bilingual school also. And now that he is going to be able to go to school, he's going to be able to stay with his mother, and this really pleased them as they was able to find out he was not going to be sent back home. We got a couple of videos that's going to be shown before we go on through some slides. This morning Tim sang a song, This Is the Day. This is one of the favorite songs that they do in worship down there, but it's going to be in Spanish. Of course, these are pictures that are within the church building down at Moaloa, and over the past year, Noel and the efforts of other congregations was able to improve their facilities, new chairs, new tables, new backdrop. Noel is really doing a great job down there in getting the community involved. People are always asking him, you know, things about, he's every night there's something going on with their church, from children's ministry to women's ministry, you know, teaching, going out in the community, trying to get more people involved. All right, this is a house build in honor of Betty Graves. This is Lee and Campbell's sister. This is Pound, Paula, and Patty's aunt. This particular house build, in which was honor for Betty, was done for Fernando. Fernando was a young man, primarily living with his brothers and sister. His mother is working in Italy in order to buy the land in which the house was built on. Of course, down there you have to own the piece of land in order to build a house, and his mother had been there for 4 to 5 years raising money just to build on a piece of land so they can build. So Fernando, it was really special for us because he's one of the boys that really comes around and helps us. And this was a long climb as we went from the church building going up to the, and this is a picture from the site. As you can see, the church building distance, this is up on top of the mountain on the side away from the church building. These are little stairs that get up to the back side where the house was built. Every time we start out, we always have to square off our main corner post, and depending on the layout of the land and the structure of the land, it could be easy or it could be really hard. This is Dixon. Dixon was a helper there. That particular day, he got hit by a hammer, and it kind of broke his nose and did a little damage to his face. And out here you can see the corner post going up with carrying. All right, Mike taking on, different people helping out. As you can see, not only men, but you know, even the women get involved and help out. Like I said, these are the corner posts and trying to get things set up. Out here's Hayden. All right. Not only do we need people to work, we also need people to take care of the crowd control and take care of the little kids, because it will be a lot of people coming around. Here's Jake from Nashville, talking with his friends, Elvin and Junior. Stanley. This is Fernando. This is who the house was primarily built for. You can see the couch right there. This is one of the areas where they were trying to stay around in. That's it. Kind of the slums. And Stanley helping out, watching and overseeing the work. Carrie taking a break. Of course, he's always trying to tell somebody how to do things. Here's Fernando. No, that's Elvin Jr. Makeshift weights, and they're all, if one does it, they're all wanting to get attention. Of course, anytime they anytime that something's going on, there's always people around taking photos, and everybody's really ready to jump in and have their photo made. There's Judy and Megan down at the church building. That's in front of the church, and the picture was taken back where Fernando's house was made. And you can see the improvements, and maybe the land in front where when the rains come, it kind of erodes down, but they're trying to build a little playground and where the towers are to use all the available land. This is just one little boy that come up and wanted to get his picture made. As you can see, they're all very personal and always wanting to be around and try to help out and do the different things and be a ham for the camera. Out here, people working, helping out. Paula's getting ready to take care of the boy's injury. You can see in the background sitting down on the couch where he's got the Band-Aid over his nose and face. And there's another picture of him with Jefferson. Here's another injury that Heath attained and getting doctored at when we're back at the mission house. And here's Noel. We're all talking about. This is Davy's mother, and has some problems with the law, and we're trying to work out some things, some details about Davy. Here's Mike and his handy skills with the chainsaw, making sure things are taken care of. Matt, they're all working, take care. This is just sights of some of the work. The Tink Tink crew, of course, we found out they're more than just Tink Tink crews, according to the North Carolina group. These are women got muscle as they hammer instead of just tinking around. Carrie grabbing a hold of that chainsaw and working. Of course, every house built, there's usually one window and one door, and this is, of course, one of the windows overlooking the church at Moaloa. Yeah, this is Fernando and Heath working on their own particular window. These are people that are asking for a house that may have land coming up, because every time we go build somewhere, they're always bringing up letters trying to be on the waiting list in order to get houses built for them. Of course, here's people on the roof working to finish off the roof. And here's Noel and Patty and myself. Like I said, this particular window overlooks the church building and the soccer field. Here's El Porcho that Carrie's so fond of making, building a little porch. Of course, Carrie doesn't speak Spanish, but he talks to them like they understands it, and he just puts an O or a L on the end of it, and it seems like everything works out for the best. And here's the people as we're getting ready to conclude that particular build. Here's the dedication to Fernando and the people, that his grandmother and other people there. Of course, dedications always mean a lot depending on, who it's been built for. Of course, it means a lot more when it's someone in your own family, but it really means something special when you build it for someone that you know and care for down in Moaloa. And the group that built Fernando's house. These are, as you can see in the background, they were chasing a guy that was supposedly selling drugs in the community, and they chased him through, and we were just happened to be coming by as they was going after the guy. And this is like a potpourri down at the base of the hill. Right to the right of the screen, there's a big soccer field that the kids play on, and this is also a gathering spot and a hot spot for the police when they come in this particular community.
All right, we're going to see some pictures of the clothing drive that we had. As you know, we were asked for donations of clothing and shoes, and we wound up taking 32 bags of clothes and shoes. When we arrived, we saw this line, and we found out that they started getting in line about 3 a.m. in the morning, but we weren't going to start the clothing drive until 10. So they waited a long time so they could get a few clothes. And when we got there, we saw that line, and we started unloading the bags, and the kids came to help move all the bags up to the church where the clothing drive is going to be held. You can already see that there's quite a few people in line there. We're getting things sorted out before the people would come in, and we had some folks that were getting a head start, looks like. And this is Jefferson, and he's a friend to pretty much everybody. We really enjoy him. And there's a couple of our bouncers keeping people out until we were ready to start the clothing drive. And there's Judy holding the baby. That's Sonia, and she's one of our special friends and a member of the church there, and she works in the feeding center. And there's Victor. He knows how to take care of the kids. And Jay can join the company. There's Gillian getting to hold a young baby while Mom was shopping, I guess. And that's the ladies' department, and Paula and Judy are taking care of her. And Danica's helping the girl try on some shoes. And Jake and a couple of boys, and there's Haley, and she's taking care of a young one. And there's more work going on in the shoe department. And there's Victor with a baby again. Uh-oh, here's a couple more of the bouncers. Special family there that's I say which one. Yeah, there's me and Carrie helping people out with some shoes. Who? Brady. And there's Gillian again, and that's the little David. And Butch helped David out with a pair of shoes that his shoes that he was wearing were about 2 sizes too small. And the little girl getting an outfit. And there's Walter and Jefferson. They helped us out a lot this day. And another family that got some clothes. Okay, that's Jefferson's family. And that's the leftovers from the crowd. Many of these were turned away and didn't get anything because we ran out. Okay, this is a second clothing drive. It was held in Pelican, and these boys are getting some new clothes and shoes. And here's one of these boys that brought his little brother and he wasn't asking for anything for himself, but he wanted his brother to have something. And this is Jim Nichols, and he is a special man.
Okay, I'm going to talk to you about a house built in honor of MacArthur Sanders. It was built in the farming community of Catacamas, and if you're like me, I don't know if I said that right or not, but I think it's Catacamas. It had a concrete pad floor, which is kind of unusual. We weren't really expecting that. We were really kind of concerned about digging holes, but it wasn't 8 inches thick and had rebar in it. It was pretty easy to bust through, so it wasn't really as big a deal as we thought. But setting the posts were just a little bit harder. Y'all have gotten ahead of me here. Anyway, going down the list here, that's cornrow wheel with the chainsaw. No, that's just wheel. There's Jaron hauling in beams. That's us getting the walls started. Still walls getting started there. There's cornrow wheel again. There's Alice. She's going to try her hand at it with the chainsaw, which Alice did a really good job. She worked hard, as did Will. They both did a great job. There's Brian kind of helping Alice out. Don't worry, Miss Dot. We had her taking care of her, but she did a great job. More, you have to hold down the walls. There's Reese with the chainsaw up, getting ready to get started. Try to get started with the roof. He was one of the regulars on the roofing crew. There's some shots from Reese on the roof. There's cornrow wheel again with the chainsaw. There's a pet. This family had a pet parrot. Everybody kind of had a little fun with. Girl coloring. You notice her school uniform. That little place that she was sitting right there was like their kitchen. That's where they did their cooking and everything. Here's the dedication. This was a very unique family here. Both parents live here with their 3 daughters, Marcos, Donato, and Martha. Girls Daisy, Miriam, and Stephanie. It is kind of unusual for the man to be present and be a strong force in the family situation. And I guess on a personal note, that's kind of fitting that his house was built in honor of MacArthur Sanders, considering the example of a man he's shown all of us all of his life. There's Donato and Martha with gifts of a Bible and a housewarming package. There's a group of the Hope family. There's the finished product and the folks that built that house. Thursday we did a food distribution. Let's see. Thursday we went back to build Matt's grandmother's house down the hill, and you can see where they didn't want a floor in this house because they had the concrete pad, so they used the extra lumber to build them a little add-on room to that. They're very thrifty. When you build a house, you don't really worry. I don't worry about picking up nails and stuff because they're going to pick them up and they're going to use them. Every scrap piece of wood, everything they take advantage of. Of course, we stopped in and I actually went in the house and took a look at it after it was finished on Thursday. Get off the cord.
While she's getting the pictures up, I just wanted to thank everyone that supports us. Everybody here supports us in numerous ways, and just wanted to thank y'all for allowing us to go and do this for other people. The house we did this day was in memory of Eugene Renfro, and here we're getting off the bus. They dropped us off and said, "All right, everybody on the lumber truck." So we all jump on, and they take us to the build site. And this was the view from the house of the location of where we built. Alice thinks she looks as good as this view, but we'll leave that up for debate. Cassie, the same thing. So that ugly Auburn hat, though. It was Cliff Cheney went with us this year. It was his first year, and he was a big help. Great worker. Anna, and again with that Auburn stuff, I don't know what we did here, but I think this was on purpose. Here's Mike and his newlyweds next to him. We were hauling lumber, measuring it out, trying to get everything right. The Hondurans tried to take over when Reese was getting it squared off. He was our build leader this day, and they kept mumbling stuff and talking about him. What we come to find out later, they were talking, saying he didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know what he was doing, and they kept trying to take over. So finally, we got it all set, got the house built, and one of the translators came back later and told us that the Hondurans said, "Oh, Popeye knows what he's doing here," so they finally gave us a little bit more free range on building. Starting on the walls here, getting everything set up. The Tink Tink crew was getting ready to start. Looks like they're about a quarter away in that picture. Here was a horse carrying some firewood down the mountain. Brett was ready to hand up the tin. He was handing up to Reese, of course, on the roof. There's Reese on the roof again. Mr. Stanley was entertaining all the little kids with his phone. And the dedication was for a family, and the mother's name was Glendis and her 3 children. Jonathan was 2 years old, Tatiana was 3 years old, and Catherine was 10 years old. And they have been living with Glendis' father. That was the whole group of the build team that day.
Okay, back to the second row here. This first picture here is a skit that the children do every year for us down there at the daycare center up there. They had a skit of the 3 little pigs, and I think the wolf got saved in this scenario here. They was telling about, got baptized or something. But they had their Honduran costumes on. Every year they have Indian dress, or they dress up like the Indians, the originators in that country, the original people. So they're dressing like those. You can bring your child to the daycare if you have a job, but you have to have a job, prove you have a job, then your child is kept free. course, it's supported by us and the church in Palmetto too. But they put on a good show. Caleb and Hayden playing with the kids outside the daycare center there, showing who got the biggest muscles. And this is kids. This is I guess this is in front of the church, isn't it? Yeah, it's from the church. They have the kitchen there where they feed about 180 kids. I think Butch said earlier. Brissa, I think, is a teacher there. Is this the one with Brissa? Okay. Now this is Brissa. She's teaching the kids here. That's Noel's daughter there, and so he puts his whole family to work down there. Enrique, leading singing there. He's one that they were talking about earlier. They're real proud of Enrique and the example that he's showing down there. Our guys was tapped to hit with the Lord's Supper there. So see, they're getting ready to pass out the implements there, and it's always a good service. I enjoyed that service this year. That guy on the left there, Paul Teeple, he does translating there. He lives there full time, and Noel, of course, speaks in Spanish, and then Paul gives it in English. And some of the words he didn't have to say in English. We knew what they said, what they meant. But he had a good lesson that day. This is hogging for the camera right there. Is this Caesar's family? In the church. Okay, Iris is Javier and Caesar. Okay, all right. And this is his family, I guess, right here. All right, we're on cue now. Jake and the boys. I don't see Jake. Oh, here we go. All right, yeah, there's Jake with the guys. Cindy and Lizzie, Paula and Lizzie. They're passing Lizzie around like a sack of potatoes there. And Pam's got her fine young man there to mug with. Gillian with Santos and Stephanie. And getting to do a little visiting there. Pam with Heidi and Evelyn. Jaron and Marcos. Marcos getting a little ride there. Now that's not Brittany. They got Brittany here, but that's not. Megan and holding a little baby. Mike has got Brittany. That's another little girl gets passed around a lot. I don't know who the little girl is here. And there's Sam with Brittany. All right, this kitchen. Feeding center. Like you said, they feed a lot of kids there every day. And I think they've gone this year, I heard they went from lunch and breakfast both to get the kids. They were helping out in the kitchen. Jude and Megan helping out there. Martha and Heath also giving a hand there. Takes a lot of help to feed 180 kids. And she's getting to use some new equipment. Got her a blender. I don't know if that's one of those ninja blenders or what, but she's getting to blend up something there. I know one day they said that the meal they had was, I forgot what it was, but the key word that I heard was calf's liver. And I knew, well, I wasn't going to be eating there in that lunchroom that day. She's slicing bananas. Yes, sliced bananas. Here's a picture of me and the girls. We left this area here and went down to Jorge's house where I could use the internet in his house so we could use Google Translate because I wanted to find out about them. And I asked them when, through Google Translate, when was the last time their mother visited them, because she is around. And Norma, the one sitting down with a little striped sweater on, said something about September. Now this is July, and their mother came last September. And she said with her sister. And I said through Google again, y'all have a sister? And they said, well, we have 9 brothers and sisters. So there's only 3 here, and there's 6 either, you know, up and grown and out of the home or gone. And this is in front of their little house where they stay. They was kind of embarrassed because Carrie and Jorge and the others were going around visiting the area, and they were going to go in there and look. And Carolina said she didn't clean her room up, so she was kind of embarrassed about that. This is classrooms and they have there. We helped, I think, with the desk and the chairs, or you did, and the playground, some of the equipment out there in the benches, bunk beds, and the laundry, indoor laundry there. Some pens there that we don't know exactly what the water there is about, unless they use that, they catch that and use it for laundry. Is my best guess, but I don't know. And we got the group that was there. I picked up a little girl on the left there, on your right, but on my left, and she just wanted to have her picture made. She came right up there and stood right beside me, so that tickled me. Okay.
So I'm going to talk us through a few slides of the day that the group got to build a house, actually in dedication of mine and Brett's grandmother, Helen Reynolds. So you'll probably start seeing at this point in the trip, you'll probably start seeing some pretty tired faces. We worked really hard on this trip, and it was definitely a blessing to be with this group and to get accomplished so much that we did, just in the name of the Lord. So I've being the first one on the trip, I hear a lot of stories about, just wait, it's going to rain one day. We're going to get one day of rain, and sure enough, it's the night before we built the house for our grandmother. So it was definitely a muddy house build here, but you can see kind of the view from the location of the house, and if you'll notice, kind of up in the top is actually the statue of Jesus, kind of that you can see from this community. So that was really neat view, and we got to go up there and see the statue too. So that was definitely a blessing. So as you could probably imagine, the school buses do not travel very well on these steep, muddy roads when it gets wet. So we had quite a hike down the terrain here, kind of a muddy morning. So definitely a long hike, and I think all of us coming down the road here were thinking, man, I sure hope the wood is at the site today. So but it was, and we had a really good house build location. And of course, this is Miss Patty, I guess, breaking the cardinal rule of don't give out gifts at the house builds, but she kind of has her own set of rules, and it was definitely a blessing for that. So, and then here comes Pam up the road too. She's making the hike, and everybody was such a trooper on this trip. Nobody's ever complaining about how long we have to walk or anything like that. So so such a good trip. Then you see the group of buzzards in the tree there. That was the kind of the sight we had coming in. I don't know if they were waiting for one of us to fall or what, but we definitely had a pretty long hike in. So here's us setting the holes. It was a muddy site, so I will say that the dirt was a little bit easier, but we had a little bit of a struggle on a couple of the holes on this one. You can see a big group of us here. That one gave us a run for our money there. So but we got everything set up and got the poles set and got the floor coming in here, and it's just a really good group. I kind of saw 3 groups of folks here. You got the Tink Tink crew, and we'll talk about them, and then you got the young guns, which Will and Reese and Brett and Heath. These guys, man, they know how to throw a house up, and then you got the older group, kind of the project managers, and they're kind of watching, making sure everything is going good. So the walls start start going up here and got everybody kind of throwing a hand in and getting it done. So you can see it doesn't matter. It may be the girls, it may be the older group. Everybody's doing everything we can to kind of get this house up. And you can see how muddy it is. I mean, you're literally standing in about 3 or 4 inches of mud, during the whole house build. So there's Reese. He's the go-getter. He spent the entire week on the roof, so we wouldn't have been able to do it without him. There's Reese and Brett getting a good laugh out of being up there. I was definitely much more comfortable with Reese being on the roof than I was Brett, but he did a good job too. So there's these guys finishing up the last walls and kind of getting ready for the roof to go on. There's the muddy place, and this is kind of where the Tink Tink crew comes in. We just have this great group of ladies that just jump right in there, and as everybody, the big guys are getting the roof on, you've got these ladies just working hard, steadily getting the floor down. So definitely couldn't do it without them. There they are working, and there's Coach project managing there, making sure everything's going in right. So, and this is kind of the view. This is the final wall here that we have going up. So, this thing goes through so smooth, and the last wall goes up and start cutting the doors, and this thing's built and ready to go. So, so here's the dedication. Brett and I had the opportunity to dedicate to this family. This young man's name was Christian, and he was going to be living in the home with his mother, who actually name is Mary, and my mother's name is Mary as well. So that was kind of interesting. And then he was going to be also moving in with his grandfather Francisco, and he was a little bit older, and they were going to have to take care of him. But this young man was so well mannered, and Brett and I just instantly kind of struck up a relationship with this young man. And so just so thankful for the group to be able to provide a home. Everybody worked so hard to be able to do this, and I kind of encouraged the group at one point in time. I say, guys, let's make sure that we make we make this trip, we make these house builds. It's not just something that we do, but it's actually a piece of who we are. So the interesting part about this young man is he actually sent me a Facebook message after I'd already been home, and just thanked me, and just really was so thankful, and basically said that that he wanted to try to show the community the love that we showed him, and that he was so grateful for not only our group but also my grandmother that it was dedicated for. So wow, what a way that God uses a connection to bring back home and make this more of a part of who you are. So this is the group shot finishing up the house build. It was such a great group, and just a good time to be blessing this family. So oh yeah. Okay, so one cool story is I think Pam and Judy were standing there, and they had a long hike, and the lady there in the front, she obviously with the language barrier, she was kind of pointing at Pam's shoes, and I don't know, I think obviously Pam wasn't really sure, but she kind of invited him over to her home, and from what I hear of the story is that this lady actually took Pam and Judy's shoes and cleaned them for them because they were so muddy. So it definitely shows the ability for the those folks to serve as well, and it was definitely a humbling experience, I'm sure. So this is kind of the trek back up to the bus for the day after we finish the build. Mike takes a little break there to pet the dog. I think he's probably just using it as kind of a rest break, so. But we definitely had a long hike back up the hill, so everybody really had to kind of, this was the final bit of grit, to get the day finished out. So a good picture of Mike there, one of his friends. So, and there's another picture. I think this is another picture of us trying to make it up the hill. I think we used the opportunity to meet and greet just to take some rest breaks on the way up. So, and then we finally got to get to the bus, and we were rewarded with a good lunch. So that's good stuff right there for this kind of trip. We definitely And then we, you know, if you get a chance to catch a ride on the back of a truck down in Honduras, you take the opportunity. So we're heading back up the hill there.
I get to talk about food, so I'll identify that. That was a vein on a half shell. That's what that was called. We had a food delivery down there, and it takes preparation to get all that together, and a lot of bags are brought in there and available to organize. About 1,200 food bags were delivered while we were there. It took more than one day, at least a couple of days. And this again, at the compound we stay at, we start unraveling the bags and start a caravan of filling the delivery bags up with the rice and beans and all the good stuff that they need to sometimes survive for a couple of weeks on. Actually, this is little Daisy here, which is Aldo's daughter. He's good to help us on the bills down there, and she was helping us out putting together the food bags. You see circles, folks working on beans or rice or salt or whatever. Will's, he's not sure what he's doing over there, but anyway, he's checking things out. Stan looked like he's trick-or-treating here, but when everybody goes around getting their bags full, that's the opportunity. We call it trick-or-treating, but we're filling the bags, getting them loaded. Matt and Jake doing some tying them up here, and you see the pile mounting, and we're about to get this loaded up on a bus here. And that bus is pretty packed down, especially after you get folks on there to do the delivery. But a lot of good hands working together. It's nice to see team effort here, and it really takes it in getting these put together and ready to be handed out. You can see in the villages here. One thing we try to do is go door to door, get it to the house. It's hard to do sometimes, but there's one situation we got in one village where we had just to hand them out to some people because we weren't going to have enough to get to the houses. But usually we make sure they're at their home to get their designated group of food. A lot of hills to climb when you're out delivering these foods, and sometimes often by foot after you get out of the bus and up and down the hills. One day we had one lady that became lightheaded and had to go back, had to be taken back to the bus. Young ladies from Palmetto, and she was taken care of there, but she kind of got dehydrated. Michael and some of our crew, you see, taking those bags out. You strap two of those on one shoulder. If you man enough to get two on the other shoulder, you really got a pretty good load there as you go. That was Mike Travolta. Well, I mean, that's Michael Banhoser. That's right. But anyway, they were giving out those bags of food and running right along, really holding up very well. Pam had a chance to encounter a lady out there and was enjoying giving her that food. Outdoor kitchen you were looking at there, as well as Reese doing some hauling with his food efforts. He finally came off a roof, and we got him doing something else there for a change. But again, pretty good long haul into some of these places where they live. The parrots and other things we got to see as we traveled around. Little girls sitting out enjoying the afternoon, and always with a smile on their face. We made a second delivery to Peleguen community out just not too far from our compound, and again, very beautiful out there. The hills were alive with the sound of music, as we say sometimes. The movie scenery came into our minds, seeing all the beauty out there as we traveled about, and sometimes got into situations where the dogs might have been a little bit rough to us, it looked like, but we didn't get dog bit, I don't think, any of us, but there were some challenges out there with a few of them. We kept it going till we got all the bags delivered that we had, and it was, again, some tiring work, very, very rewarding. Elderly woman here, she was waiting for some food there to be brought in, and was glad to receive it. Derica, pictured there, Taylor, she was helping out with that venture as well. Some other beautiful scenery of crops, a lot of crops that you'd see even here, corn and some flowers I asked about that were growing out there with them that they would sell. Of course, you got the donkeys right out there. I don't know if he was praying or waiting on somebody to come over, but he was over there kind of still and kind of interesting looking. Paula was delivering here and helping on this run as the guy came up to get his bag of food. Butch helping out here, and you see the laundry lines out there, and the again, livestock that sometimes you could pet a little bit. Reese got over near this guy's horse. I was a little bit nervous about him getting over there too much, but he made it okay. Little girl in the truck there, she was waving to us and recognizing what we were doing. Noel and Butch says, I think they were there 4 years ago at this place, so time rolls on, but Noel helped us on several ventures in this delivery he was on as well. And I think Patty's pretty well had it there, probably winding down the day with the lady had been out there receiving her food. And that's Jefferson's grandmother right there. She came out actually for some food, and they had built a house for her, I believe, in 2012. Hayden's entertaining over there a little bit, picking at the crew a little bit, and Matt and his helper as they get out. Those little kids now, they weren't afraid to pull a bag from you and help out, make it happen. And this lady, Tanya, she was, looked like she's about to have a baby or a pop some way there, and she did, is that Brittany? Oh, okay, I got you. And she did have the baby on Monday there after we left. That's a little girl that's Jaden, right? A little boy Jaden, that is, I'm sorry.
So this one's the medical clinic and stuff, and Mom usually heads up that every year. Well, this year Anna and I chipped in, and with Anna's expertise in pharmacy, it really helped out. We see a lot of kids, they usually get vitamins and stuff for parasites and stuff like that. There's Mom, Anna, and I. Heriberto, one of our translators, and I writing prescriptions. Anna getting pounded by children. There's us again. And Jim Nichols and Martha. I don't know what Carmen was laughing at, but it was probably something I said. And this is the cathedral at St. Lucia. It's the oldest standing church in the Western Hemisphere, built in the 1500s, and they have priests buried in the walls. Very ornate carvings. And Carrie's singing, and where the big carving piece is, there's a big rotunda above it. And every year before we leave, we always get under there and sing, and it has great acoustics. And there's the sunset from the cathedral. And the Weavers and the Reynolds. And the Jesus statue. It's a landmark for the planes coming in. It's built by the same artist that did the one in Rio, except this one, the hands are facing up, and the poorest communities are behind the statue, and they've come to say that Jesus has turned their back on them. And there's the girls of the statue. And construction crew. Every year, Jake and I do this picture, and I got a little heavier since last year, so Cassie had to help jump in. There's a night shot from the statue. Derica standing at the edge. And this was the house build in honor of the Gargases And this house build was done by the 12 of us who stayed until Sunday. We were then known as the Dirty Dozen. We got a ride up to the site and dropped off where the lumber was, so we thought it was going to be pretty easy. Well, we were wrong. We had to carry the lumber, and every 2 feet there was another turn, and it was really tight. The site was very small, so the lumber wouldn't fit, so we had to stack it up. And at the bottom of the lot from where we were, there was like a concrete pad, and we came to find out that a lady had lived there, and the gang was going to take over her house because it was a great lookout into the entrance of the village. So in order to keep that from the gang, she burned it down and left the village. And you can see from the beautiful view, it is a perfect entrance to the village. And the squaring up, Matt, Brett, and Manuel. And Jaron. I don't know if that face was made at Gillian or Patty and her children again. Reese doing a little landscaping. I think he had to cut down some limbs. Dog that actually kind of looks like a healthier dog than the most we see. And the dog, her name is Rambo. And this little girl, Gillian, Madison, and I were rearranging the lumber so it went up the right way, and Madison Gillian whacked her in the head with in the forehead with a beam, but she didn't cry. She's a pretty tough kid. This is a neighbor that came to visit, and Patty was able to give her a Bible, and she was very happy because she didn't have one beforehand. Gillian working on the walls. And Mary Ann following in her family's tradition of helping out with the house builds. And Junior and Brian, when word got out, some of us from Maysville were still there. We got lots of kids to come help. It's a tight squeeze putting in the nail. I got it really dirty right there. Mom, Patty, and Pam in between the dirt wall and back of the house. Reese cutting some more. Some of the helpers that we were telling you about that made it there. Myself and David. And Butch sharing his snacks. Patty smooching on Jefferson. Dixon recovering from the hammer to the nose. Mom and the boys. And this was the family. It was Angel, David, Samara, and their daughter Jaylee, who was 4. And this was the group shot.
Okay, I'm going to go through some slides here of our VBS. And the last 2 years, we had around 200 kids, so we were expecting a pretty good crowd. It turns out it wasn't announced this year, but we still had a pretty good number, around 85, but it was a lot easier on us. Gillian and Judy did a really good job preparing for another good VBS. This is just a picture here of some goodie bags we give to the kids to take home. And we got Paula here whipping some new South Carolina kids into shape to get the snacks ready for the kids. And Paula and Butch here getting some cookies ready. It's hard to give out these Alabama shirts, but I guess Fernando was happy to get this one. And this is Fernando and Santos helping out. This is a picture of Cassie telling her girl she only speaks a little Spanish. I think she said 15%, and she had 20% by the time she left. This is the kids getting ready for some singing. And Sam's little boy, I think, wasn't having too good of a time. And this here is Butch and Patty's coloring group. And I think this is the kids. We did a skit on the Good Samaritan. And we had some good actors, especially the Good Samaritan. You can guess who he was. And this boys, picture of some boys' shoes here. And this is Cassie with her little baby Lizzie. And this is a cute little boy that was at VBS. He really enjoyed it. This is just a picture of kids singing Joy, Joy Down in My Heart, and you can tell they're getting into it. This is the Good Samaritan skit, and our Good Samaritan, he's laying on the ground getting some help from the good-looking Good Samaritan there. It's getting a little crowded here, so you can tell we still had a pretty good crowd even though it wasn't announced. And this is just Pam and Carrie watching over their group. And almost snack time, the best part of VBS. And this here's Justin asking for another drink. And this is after VBS. Derek is outside playing with some kids, a little soccer. And Haley blowing some bubbles for the kids. This is a picture. Hayden brought some necklaces to make for the kids, and they really enjoyed that. There was a lot of them around here getting some necklaces made. And this is another picture of that. And here's a picture of Patty with Samuel and David, and Butch and Victor are doing a good job of holding this tree up here. It looks a little flimsy. And then this is kind of post VBS. It got a little crazy in there. So Bruce and Gillian on the cleanup crew. And this little boy's face just kind of says it all. You know, they really enjoy all our effort and appreciate what we do. And we had a good VBS.
All right, I'm gonna wrap it up here with extra house build. Y'all probably like me. I'm getting hungry too, but the house build. Yeah. This was the other house build that we had. There was me and a few others. We couldn't go with the Maysville group because it ended up getting too big. But this was just right down the hill from the other house, and it wasn't really as muddy as the other one was, but just about every hole we had was covered in rocks. And this is us squaring up and setting the post up, and some more of it. And working with Melvin it's rough. He likes to take charge. And here's Jaren digging up a hole, and I don't know what's wrong with Sam there. I guess she's tired or something. Derek and Hayden are entertaining the kids, and that little boy had stickers all over him. Cliff and Victor, of course, are cutting up as usual. And the little boy there with the stickers on his face. And here we're hauling up the tin for the roof. And of course, Cliff's cutting up again. And here's the family who received the house. And one morning we took a trip to the hospital before we went to VBS, and here's Martha. She's visiting with a little boy trying to make him happy with that mustache she's got there. And more kids that we visited there in the hospital. Martha, she got to visit most of them. And the rest of the group went and visited a maternity ward, and this is one of the grandmothers who was, she was very proud of her new granddaughter. And she told the ladies who went to visit her that her heart had made her happy for them to come see her baby. And they got a Bible and a hygiene pack. And here's a newborn there in the hospital. And that wasn't the twins, was it? Oh, and this is one of the babies in the ward, and some of the mothers that were under 18 years of age. And here's the new set of twins that were born just a few minutes apart, and their mother was a young girl, and she was asking for baby clothes, and it was sad because she didn't really have anything for them. And here's after the hospital, we took a lunch trip to Pollo Campero. And that was probably the best meal I had all week.
All right, we're winding up our presentation, but this year we had 2 different days that people were coming back to the States. On Saturday, as a group of 19 that came back. There at the airport, they were met by different people from Molo, and they was able to get on their plane and come on home, while the other group of 12 still stayed back and did some more work for another day. And there you're seeing some pictures of our group, and and their goodbyes as they're at the airport, and very sadful time, and you know, we always look forward to seeing them every year and then having to tell them goodbye after about a week or so. But this is the group that left Saturday, and their goodbyes at the airport there in Tegucigalpa. It was kind of a unique thing here. This guy was playing a fiddle and a violin, and you usually don't see that down there in their airport. And the group, this is our group that's going to come back on Sunday. Of course, Sunday we got up, we had church service there at our compound, and then we got on the bus and we met the people from Moaloa and different group that came by and was telling us goodbye. And like I said, you know, it's stressful enough to go through a week and tell them we're going to be seeing them goodbye, but this is the group that met us. Here we are. We're always feeding them as we get to the airport, as we're getting close to the time to go through customs and go through immigration, and here we are feeding them every year, making sure that they have food, because sometimes it's, you know, maybe the only food of the day that they get. But Megan and Jefferson, of course, Jefferson's one of our favorite. Patty and I would probably bring him home if we could, but I don't think we'd get away with it. But here's some giveaways at the airport. Josue, he used to work, he now is working at the airport with a little bit better job and helping us as we making the transition. Walter and Jefferson. And tearful goodbyes. As you can tell, the faces of both the Americans and the Hondurans, the love for one another and the work we do, but most of all, the love for one another, really, really heartfelt. This is, and going on to the airport, at Tegucigalpa, they don't have like a gangway that you walk down from there. We have to walk down and walk out onto the pavement, and there we get on the airplane. But the Delta flight. Okay, this as we're on board the airplane, there's several people sitting at different places on the plane. Patty's off to the right. I'm on the window seat right on the wing. Reese is next to me. Jaren's next to him. Brett's on the other side. Matt's behind me. Matt and myself have window seats. As we're taking off to the east, which is to the high mountain range of Tegucigalpa. There, the Jesus statue was. So I'm watching, trying to see in correlation to where we're at as we're climbing and going maybe past the Jesus statue, so I have an idea where we're at. But around 500 feet off the ground, there was a very loud noise, and immediately looked to the engine on the left wing, and I could see a tremendous amount of shaking of the wing. Also, people throughout the airport could, not the airport, but the airplane could hear this noise of how the engine was really straining in order to work. I did not know behind me, Matt had his window open and saw flames coming out from underneath the wing, because you know, someone from Chattanooga on another mission trip had filmed the whole thing, and we got it on video of the flames and the smoke coming through. One of the things that was significant about this, Patty received a Facebook message from one of the ladies from Tegucigalpa at Moaloa, was asking if we were okay. So the people on ground had heard the noise of the vulture that got caught in the jet engine and saw the flames and was worried about what was going on. Well, as we later found out, the airplane pilot, they were talking to us, the main concern, there is a large concern about landing in Tegucigalpa, but they said if you're flying out to the east where the high mountains were, the main concern is clearing the mountains. Well, we had one engine on fire and trying to gain altitude and get up over 4,000 feet. And here he was struggling to use that particular engine. But once we cleared the mountains, he came on and he told us what was going on, thanked us for being calm, and that was going to have an emergency landing at a resort airport. And there he took us there, and it seemed like 30 minutes, but I think it was like 10 to 12 minutes as they flew in and we landed. And as we landed on there at the runway, the pilots did come on and say, "Now don't be alarmed." As we stopped on the runway, there was 2 fire trucks waiting on us. They came up, they rushed up, was ready to take care of their business if the plane was on fire. Luckily, the flames had stopped. They had people there to look at the engine, and we departed that particular plane and went inside here and waited. And it was around 7 to 8 hours before we was able to get another plane. But these two guys, they were pilots. I think they're required to have 2 captains on board every time they go into Tegucigalpa. The main guy on the very left, Patty's left, he was the one flying. He said this was really his 3rd bird strike that caused an engine to shut down. And he was really thankful that there were 4 groups of people going on mission trips, because he knew, as he told us as we were coming off the plane, there was a lot of praying going on, and God's grace really played a part into saving some people's lives. So we were very fortunate and very happy to be able to get a new plane late, about 10:30 at night. Of course, we missed our flight into going into Atlanta, but here we're waiting, big layover. We're doing anything we can just to spend the time playing cards and entertaining ourselves. But we were very lucky. Here's Reese. He got him a shoe shine down there waiting on it. But we got back to Atlanta, and a lot of people very tired. Here's Victor. He sprawled out and trying to get some rest. Didn't know about this one. I'm trying to get a little sleep, and everybody's really tired because we stayed up all night. We're trying to get 1, maybe 2 hours of sleep before we got on the plane in Atlanta, coming back home to Huntsville. But it was, like I've been saying for the past week or so, prayers are answered. We appreciate everything that you did, individually praying for us, as a group praying for us, and we do know that God does answer prayers. These are just some small ones. This is Mark Connell. He was, Mark is like the ringleader down there in order to build houses. He's from Birmingham. His home is now down in Tegucigalpa. Him and his wife, Lori, they run the business where the ladies go in and work and sell things to help the communities in Moloa and other places. Of course, the 3 sisters. Oh, Patty, when we first started going down here, this was called the 3 Sister store, a potpourri for the 3 sisters. And now that Pam's retired, they knew that, and they changed the name just to 2 Sisters. So Pam being retired, there's only 2 sisters working right now. Oh, Pam and Carrie sneaking off, going down the woods. We know what's going on. But different photos, and as you grow old in life, you kind of have the same mannerisms as Pam and Victor have right here. But we're, we had a great trip. A lot of things took place, very memorable. We're looking forward for another trip next year, and we pray for your help, and hopefully we'll get some more people to go that hadn't been this year. This is a capybara. This is one of the giant rats that's down there. It's only seen early in the morning, and it's one of the animals that's around. Of course, here's signs of animals eating in the trash in the dump. They were primarily, the cows were looking for the cabbage that was thrown away. Of course, Will in his fashion statement. And the last thing here, Patty wants to bring out, that we really do teach more than just going down there, that we teach the gospel. We know it's been long, and we appreciate your patience, but every picture really means something to different people. Of course, we try to brainwash some of the people down there. Jaren?
All right, so I got like 30 minutes to do this. Devo, right? Oh, sorry about that. I just want to say thank you to those here that prayed for us, contributed anyway. It was a blessing to go down there and spend time with these people. It was my first time going down. So again, just thank you for allowing us to be your hands and feet, to be Jesus' hands and feet in Honduras. So just to talk about what we kind of talked about this morning, service, this is going to be real short. Patty gave me this morning, and I had a wedding shower at 2 today, so this devotional was put together in like 30 minutes. Now talk about service. The Hebrew writer in Hebrews 6:10 says, God is not unjust. He will not forget your work and the love you have shown him as you have helped his people and continue to help them. So to talk about, we go down, it's a mission trip where we're going to Honduras, but I just want to focus on the mission is our mission field, mission trip is not only in Honduras, but here back at home too as well, right? Our mission field is outside these doors, outside these walls. There's a perfect area out here in the Huntsville area to spread God's word. Right? And then Matthew 28, we all know that's a great mission, right? Matthew 28:19. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and of the Holy Spirit. So right now, I just want to offer the invitation to those of you who may be Christians who need encouragement, need prayers, that you can come forward now. Also, if you're here tonight and you haven't put on Christ in baptism, we just invite you to come now to stand and sing.
Supper stupid you'd like to take of it, just make your way forward and be shown where you served. Like that, especially, and you can come back a few times, you can do some purpose now. Make you hear this in ways. Jerry mentioned on this point, I hope that to expand those down there. 842, 800 is tonight, just in prayer.
Not being there instead of here, just we would have been born there and people would have come help us. Help us to go from in our prayers.